Hello and welcome to Design Basics. In this video, we're going to talk about sketch constraints. These are very important tools to utilize when doing your 2D sketches, and they will allow you to basically make your designing experience much easier to use. So to start off with, I'm just going to make a simple line, and I'm going to talk about a coincident constraint. A coincident constraint is using a point to now be in line with a line, or 2 points in line with each other. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually change this to become a center line, just for reference sake. And I'm going to choose that coincident line, find the center of this line, that green circle you see, and choose the center point of the sketch. Now you can see that it's fully constrained. I can move it up and down because I need a dimension for that, but at least it is now located. The next constraint we're going to use is what's called a collinear constraint. What this essentially does is it makes two lines in line with each other. So if I were to make a rectangle and use that constraint, you'll see that they are now in line with each other. Very nice, simple constraint. Use it very, very often. I'm going to make two circles here, and I'm going to talk about the next constraint, which is called a concentric constraint. And basically it just makes two circles have the same center point. Very simple. You just select the two arcs or circles, and now they are both centered with each other. Very handy if you want to utilize an arc from another extrusion you did, etc. The next one we're going to use is what's called a fixed constraint. It'll fix a point or a line or any of that sorts. I use this quite often, especially if I'm trying to use a reference image. So it basically just fixes the line. So now I can't move this up and down. The only thing I can change is the length. So it's very, very handy. So if I dimension this, it'd be fully constrained, basically. The next constraint we're going to talk about is a parallel constraint. Very similar to collinear, except it's making them just run parallel to each other. So if I use that constraint, you'll see that they're now parallel, but I can change the dimension. Collinear would just make them in line. This one I can now do whatever distance I want. The next constraint we're going to use is a perpendicular line. So let's say I make a line like this and I want it to be 90 degrees, which is what perpendicular is. I choose that constraint, click these two lines, and now it's 90 degrees from each other. Pretty simple and handy. The next two are sometimes together, vertical constraint and horizontal constraint. I use these in two different ways. One is to make a line actually be that direction. So let's say let's make a really weird rectangle that's not perpendicular. So what I can actually do here is I can use the horizontal constraint to choose a point and make it horizontal to another point. So now this is going to be somewhat fixed, I just need a dimension. Or I can choose a line to be horizontal. I can also do the same thing with the vertical constraint. I can choose a point, make it in line with the point, like so, or I can choose a line and make it vertical. Very simple. If it's together, if it's a combined constraint, you'll have to play with it a little bit to get used to it, but that's essentially how that works. The next thing we're going to use is the tangent line, and essentially how that functions is I choose an arc or a circle, as it shows here, and then you choose it to be either tangent to another circle or to a line. So in this instance, I'll do it against this line here. So I can essentially move it to wherever I want. However, it's always going to be tangential to this edge. Very handy. The next one is called a smooth feature. So the way that this one works is it's a special case, and it's when you use a spline feature. I don't really do splines very often, but this can still be a very handy tool to use. So I can essentially just bring it to 2 points, like so. Oh, let's try that again. So I can do something like this. Say yes. Then I use the smooth feature, and I can click the spline and one of the straight lines, and the spline and another one of the straight lines, and now it's got a nice smooth, it's smoothed to the line. If you don't like that, you can always choose a point and delete it, and it can smooth it out further. As you can see, now it's really smooth by just getting rid of some of the points, and all I did is click them and delete them. That's how the smooth feature works. The next one we're going to use is the symmetric feature. which is right. I'll just make the lines first. So the symmetric feature, the way that it works is it's going to make, you're going to need 3 portions for it. You're going to choose the 2 pieces you want to be equal to each other, or symmetric, sorry, and then you're going to choose the line that they're going to be symmetric to. So if I already use this feature, I can choose these 2 lines, and you have this as its plane, so to speak, and now they will move up and down, and they're going to have the same angle. So if I'm just going to quickly use the lock constraint for the bottom here so you can see this better, but essentially they can move around quite nicely. The last feature we're going to use is what's called equal constraint. Very straightforward. I can essentially use 2 lines, 2 circles, whatever, and I can make them equal. So now these are going to be the same angle and the same distance. So these are the most common constraints to use when doing 3D design. I hope that helped. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. Otherwise, this is Tyler with 3D Printer Store, and I hope you have a great day.